I'm Gavin, and you're watching the Break It Down show.
Yeah,
it's
kind of funny.
Foster, and you are watching the Break It Down show.
Yes. And then Ken is down below me too. You guys know Ken. It's kind of funny right now. Then we could have 5. There are 4 spies in the room, and that's funny. And we decided to just go ahead and go live and do what I thought was going to be a meeting, what you guys thought was going to be a show, and so I think we're going to do a meeting show. So we are going to discuss things about SpyQ right here, live in the open. And get going. So I guess I'll give the mic to Gavin and James to let you guys start us off with whatever we need to cover first. Hey, welcome to the show, by the way. Thanks for making this thing fun.
Cheers, buddy. So as you can see, since the last time I've had my haircut, I went in today and I said to her, "Can you do something to make me look better?" And she started drinking tequila.
Yes.
So in the meantime, I've got my Christmas decorations up because we're going away to Spain for Christmas and we have some family visiting. So and there's my wife in the background trying to get her dinner sorted out. We've decided to make it completely official that I believe Pete has received the email that has put the kind of pre-contract agreement in place. Yep. So we are now officially handing over SpyQ America and Canada to Pete A. Turner, who is going to have the rights for everything that is done over that side of
the That's fantastic news, fellas. I really appreciate the chance to cooperate with you. And by the way, so I have some people that I'm going to bring in with. Here's Ken. Ken and I have talked a lot about this. And so we'll set up our end of the organization so that we can do right by you guys. But I guess, why is this a big deal, James?
Well, firstly, it's a big deal because SpyQ is now multinational. That's the first thing. The second thing is working with you and Ken and others is genuinely very, very exciting. Pete, I told you when I saw you do what you did at the inaugural UK, I told you the impression that made on me. And it's quite a big deal for us to be handing the master license over to you and your vision for what it is in the US. And it'd be good just to hear about some of the discussions that maybe we've been having in the background, bring it out into the open about what's coming up to the US and Canada for SpyQ and for everyone that can benefit from it.
Why don't you tell us all what because you saw it, right? I did it and I was all, jacked out on adrenaline and coffee and cortisol because, the plans shifted. And this is just a little background for everybody. So we were all taking our turn doing our little spy bit. And I noticed that we were kind of stuck to the stage and I'm like, let me go in, let me take these guys on a patrol. How do I do it? And I came up with this ridiculous mentalist act. Like this kind of mentalist. And I'm like, I think I can pull this off. And then I realized it didn't matter if I pulled it off or not, because no matter what, it was going to work because it was a good concept. And so Gavin comes up to me and I've got this whole thing planned out. I've practiced it as much as I can in a limited amount of time since I changed my mind. And he goes, how about 10 minutes? And I'm like, 10? Like I was planning on 25, And anyhow, and so I was super, my body was so excited. I was calm mentally, but I couldn't get my body to calm down. And so it was a crazy experience. But James, I'll kick it back over to you. Tell them about my mentalist debut worldwide. And by the way, welcome back, Bill.
Hey, thanks.
Welcome back, Bill. The point that I was genuinely impressed is you weren't attached to the outcome. You knew what you wanted to do, but like we talk about this a lot, you don't need to, if you're not attached to the outcome, you can be dynamic and you can roll with it. And if you have a loose idea of what you want to get, now the whole idea there was, I need to get this audience to like me and to be interested in me. Goal achieved. It didn't matter whether it worked or it didn't. And you have to own that. And it goes back to what I was saying when we last met around the comfort levels. Can you be the most comfortable person in any situation? I've been in 3 situations this week where the parameters have changed. What day are we on? We're only on Wednesday, and they've changed, and these are high stakes situations, and you have to be able just to, and that's what we're teaching. Can you be comfortable?
And here's a 4th one, right? Because we were going to maybe have a meeting in the dark and, you guys thought we were making an announcement, and we've hustled our way into something different. So I appreciate you being here. I was going to bring Ken over. Hey, Ken, when I talked to you about SpyQ USA, North America, Canada, what were your thoughts, and what do you think we're trying to do?
Well, my thoughts initially were, what a great concept, and why hasn't anybody done this before? All of us have used our background, our education, our training in the spycraft
Just me.
and things to better ourselves and better our businesses and to be more successful. But there's never apparently been a concentrated effort to bring these types of skills and craft and make them available to the business and professional communities. And I got real excited about it. And harkening back at what something we just heard about being flexible and moving, I use this unofficial motto of the U.S. Army NCO, or non-commissioned officer, all the time. And I don't know if my UK friends would understand it, but the concept of Semper Gumby. And Gumby was a claymation character from Pete and my youth that was on TV, and he was flexible. He could stretch any direction. He was basically a rubber man. And so being that as an unofficial motto of members of the U.S. Army Non-Commissioned Officer Corps, meaning always flexible. We're always able to adapt to the situation and continue to move forward regardless of what gets thrown at us or what happens around us. So extremely exciting. Some of these initial conversations I've had with Pete, and listening to the two of you and re-listening to the last time the four of us were together on a podcast, I just get more and more excited every time.
I'm going to bring Bill into the window here because, and Bill's obscured for a particular reason. So we're just going to let that be intrigue building. And by the way, welcome. I love Bill. Bill was one of my favorite people to get phone calls from or to get on the show, because he and I had, let me talk over here. Bill and I had this happenstance meeting on Bagram in Afghanistan, or we both were like, I don't know, for whatever reason, we were both up, because you never sleep when you're deployed. And I saw him, he saw me, and we sat down and we talked for hours, like one of the best conversations of my life. And we just, because we'd been in different places doing the mission, but doing it in a very common, for us, each other way that was completely uncommon to how everybody else approached it. And so that conversation, I always think back to, I don't remember all the words we talked about, but I remember how impactful it was to find someone else who knew, and we already knew each other a little bit, but professionally, we realized that we were like, I would say twins almost. So it's, anytime I get a chance to talk to Bill, it's special. And I hope you guys can all appreciate that. He's been on the show before, so look up Bill and welcome Bill to the show.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey guys, so sorry. I can't figure out, I got the camera working here on my end, but I don't know why it's not coming through. So I apologize.
That's all right.
But yeah, thanks, Pete. Appreciate having me on. It's nice to meet you guys, and it's interesting to see what you're working on here for this this project.
What are your thoughts about? We've talked about SpyQ offline. What are your thoughts on the concept? I don't know if I sent you that potential plan of operation that Ken worked up, but what are your thoughts in general on the concept?
I mean, I think the skills are valuable for all kinds of people. I mean, there's a lot of
I have no audio
crossover and
for
takeaway.
Bill or Ken.
Yeah, I can hear. Can you guys not hear?
Yeah, I can hear Ken and Bill, but I don't know why James, for some reason, isn't getting the audio through for anybody. Can you hear Pete okay?
I can hear you, Gavin, and I can hear Pete, but I can't hear anyone else.
I'm going to kick you out of the studio. Come back in when you can, James. Okay, that'll help fix that, hopefully. And Bill, we kind of trapped you in this. If you want to take off, you don't have to be part of this.
I feel bad, man. I'm going to have to, unfortunately, be short here, but I do think that it's an interesting concept, and I think that a lot of people can benefit from aspects of everything that's. Let me just say, I use my stuff in constantly in everything you do. After a while, it kind of becomes just ingrained in how you are and how you think, and I think anybody in general uses all the skills they have and or should anyway, and the different courses they've taken and things they've done, and lateral applicability is insane. So I can see why business folks and other people would be interested in paying for it. It's fun too. I mean, there's that aspect of it, right? It's just fun, and there's a cool element of it. But on a production standpoint, like ROI, making you money. I can tell you it's those kinds of things have worked for me in the past, that's for sure. Whether it's reading
Yeah.
people in the room or getting people to yes on a deal, or really trying to probe and find out what someone's needs and wants are, and spot those things. And I don't want to say places where they're vulnerable, but I guess you could say vulnerable in the sense of what do they need, what do they want, what do they not want, and then how to use that to your advantage, which ultimately ends up being to both of our advantages to get a deal done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Jim,
and that's fine, because like everything, we do it with the correct ethics, and we teach about ethics and also the intent. If your intent is pure, then surely you would do anything ethically correct to make sure the outcome is and mutually beneficial, because you've always got the best, that their best intent at heart, and
Yeah,
that's really important.
I mean, I think that's kind of the interesting thing. I mean, sort of there's the times when you have to have something expedient to meet a certain mission in one sense, but then there's in the business world, it's repeat games, right? So it's not just this deal, it's the next one and ones after that. So yeah, unlike also, this is maybe the one sort of difference in some instances between our previous jobs and this is it's not just that instance where we got to get this done and the other person knew what they signed up for, as opposed to we're going to use these skills for a win and use these things in a way that lets us do more deals in the future and make even more money and greater gains. And I think that's really cool what you just said there about being able to apply those same things with a slightly different twist, but yeah, to gain more money over time, more connections over time, more relationships over time, build a bigger alliance of people in your network and working with you and achieving great things. So it's cool. I'm anxious to see how it unfolds. I saw the website and it looks intriguing. So
yeah, the website's actually going through a major overhaul at the moment as well. It's behind the scenes, because obviously at the minute it's just showing the fact that an event that's passed and you can't buy tickets anymore.
yeah.
But what's happening is, while that's up in the background, we're having a big makeover. I emailed James yesterday with some more of the alterations. We're working with the web developer to work on it, so that'll be updated very shortly, within the next week or two. So apologies to everybody that we're lagging a little bit with that. We've had so many exciting things happening just recently, with this going to Australia and America, and the fact that we've got now a couple of extra things that we're going to be able to throw into the mix, both on the psychological side of the training that we were doing previously, as well as the physical side of the training that we're going to be able to announce very, very soon here in the UK, and we're hoping to be able to replicate the same thing over in the US and in Australia as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And to back up what you said there, Bill, I've used this myself throughout my life for so many things, whether it's to get a car, whether it's to get a job for myself, whether it's to get a job for other people. I've used it with friends of mine to help them realize their dreams and achieve their goals. I've helped one friend get a 4-bedroom house for free by using the technologies that we use. There's been loads and loads of different things that I've done to use this for. Whether it's, like I say, again, sometimes even finding a partner. I've helped friends, think outside the box and be able to use the techniques that I've been taught in order to get the partner of their dreams. So there's so many ways that the training that we can be used for other people in the everyday world. No matter what you want to do, no matter what you want to achieve, you can apply the lessons we're taught and kind of get what you're after.
Yeah, and that's I was on a call today talking about with a business about a particular part of what they were doing, and we were talking about the concept of just like people talk about business to consumer or business to business selling or doing deal making, and it's more about human to human. And that's where this comes in. And it doesn't need to be a business context. I have had clients, while we were making SpyQ and creating it, I've had clients that want a better marriage. I've had clients that want a better relationship with their kids. Yes, including promotions in positions, including starting businesses, walking away from a paid salary job to go and have more freedom, whether it be location freedom or financial freedom. I can remember one particular instance of someone in Jamaica who, for the longest time, wanted to buy land to build a house, and something was stopping them. And then we got talking through a mutual connection. We spoke. Within 2 weeks, they were running around Jamaica to different banks, trying to get some money secured, executing that thing. 2 years on, they own multiple properties and are living a very different life. And the cool thing is, their life has changed from a personal situation just that was quite difficult. They've been able to, an unintended consequence, because that's not what we spoke about. But again, it's amazing the outcomes that have taken place just from interacting together, these unintended consequences. I remember working with someone, now this is coaching with SpyQ, and this is a CEO, and the CEO was contacted us for a business context, and they had a major year coming up. But do you know where the value was? When they came home 3 weeks after working with us, and the spouse just stopped them in the hallway when they walked in and said, "Thank you. I don't know what's going on with you, but thank you." That was the value for that person forevermore. And we're good friends now, actually. But that, again, is human to human, and it's connection. And one of the things in the room, that was when we did SpyQ in the southwest of England for our Norway UK event, that was pretty evident that people were yearning for connection. And I think we touched on it last time, but just that was so pronounced at the end. Usually when people leave an event, when an event finishes, they walk out the door, they leave. No one left. People were hanging around, wanting to talk. There was one comment which is, "I wish I had business cards. This is the only time I wish I had business cards." Turns out we can exchange, numbers on the phone. But yeah, it's SpyQ is we've realized that it has this kind of X factor, and we still don't really know why. But it is bringing people together, and that we are building a community, and we are leaving people that we find them, and we're opening up connections for them and doors for them that they never even thought about. And what's really interesting is they're coming in asking us with one idea about what they want, and they're leaving with this whole new realization. And it was deep down in there, but it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's a great point. What you think you're getting, and the actual gifts that start showing up, and just getting into with SpyQ is getting into our collective networks. I mean, I've networked this meeting, and we've got Bill and Ken in here, right? From just this one thing. Ken knows a million people. I know we're all CI people, or at least Ken and myself, we're CI people. Bill, he's worthless, but he's not CI. No, Bill is a world-class collector, everybody. But Bill knows a lot of people, right? And we bring these connections, and so when someone works with us, they're getting access to people who have really our coverage is wide too. It's not stacked, right? And so that networking piece that you don't count on, man, that's huge. I wanted to talk to Ken real quick about this, because one of the things he and I talked about was, when you train, you have to train at a way that's rigorous, and we've got to get people practicing these skills, because you can't just say build rapport, lecture on how to do it. What does rapport look and feel like? Have someone else watch you build rapport, and then go do it. Really go do it in the wild as often as possible, so that you start to think. And I talk about the show, I talk often about, like, you have 3 things to monitor. And this is all SPY stuff. What does the show need? What does my guest need? What does the audience need? And I'm talking to all of them, sometimes individually. Sometimes I'll break the fourth wall and say, I'm talking to you all now in the audience. And so I am right now. I'm talking to you all in the audience. If you want to learn SPY skills, this is stuff you have to pay attention to. So in general, we have to pay attention to multiple things at one time, not look like you're doing it, be able to maintain the pace of thought, make sure that your mouth is saying the words that you need to say, which means you've pre-worked on all your conversations. This is how I approach the job. But that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to create access for you all in the SpyQ world, is these powerful networks, application of these skills, and making it rigorous in training so that you are failing, so that you can go back and think about where your failures are going to create growth. Because if you haven't made mistakes, you're making the first mistake. How did I do, Ken?
I think you did great, but I think what it comes down to, and it's sort of interesting with the 5 people in this conversation, is there's an old saying that steel sharpens steel. And all 5 of us have apparently been on the tip of the spear at some point in time and on that sharp end of the stick. And if you've got people that want to learn and master and apply these skills in their lives or in their business, they need to be taught by people that have actually done it. They need to be taught by people that have actually succeeded, but also, just as importantly, failed and learned from those mistakes and learn how to apply it. You know, I've talked this concept in the last week or so with a couple of people, and I've got some friends, as I'm sure most of you do, that don't have a complete understanding. They're not of what we've done in our lives and have not been part of the intelligence community at some level. But in some ways, those that are close to us have found ways to live vicariously through us. And though we can't share a lot with them, the things that we share, they just eat up. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that would love to eat up these skills and live a little bit vicariously through the things that we've learned and the things we've done, and then take those back. I've got a good friend that's a surgeon who's, you would think, well, being a surgeon is a pretty exciting life. Well, he thinks it's pretty mundane compared to mine from the questions he asked me. And even though he's, literally holds life and death in his hand on a daily basis, his world is very compressed. It's very centered around his practice and his home, and he's never had the opportunity to travel professionally the way we have, though he's a world traveler. So I see some interest from people out there in the world that, can find ways to apply these skills, apply the tradecraft to themselves, and at the same time live just a little bit vicariously through our experiences and through the experiences we put them through. And when Pete and I sort of started putting, fingers to keyboards and coming up with some concepts of what a program would look like, that's sort of what I had in mind. Give them a little taste of what it's like to perform under pressure. Give them a little taste of what it's like to be able to think on the fly and quickly adapt skills they may have just learned to what's going on around them in a changing situation. The interview or the meet you think you're going to have may not in fact be the one you have. It may not be, what you anticipated that person was like, what you anticipated their personality was be, and what you prepared for might not be the person that actually presents themselves. So how do you quickly shift gears? How do you become flexible, and how do you adapt to those situations? And you can't do that. You can't learn it unless you experience it and you're put a little bit under the pressure and have to do it. So I think that baseline concept will serve this well if we can get a group of professionals together and put them through their paces.
Yeah, I love that. And what you said there was so right about it. It's not just about the person who's got the reps in. It's about the people who have done it, but also failed. And so they know what doesn't work as well as what does, so they can guide you so much better. I mean, I remember, I personally, we've spoke about this before. There's 2 different ways to infiltrate somebody's life. You can do it the long and steady and easy way, where you do a gradual introduction, or you can do it the kind of what they call the bump. And I personally, I don't like the bump because it's very kind of single bullet. And I remember this one occasion we'd figured out that there was somebody that both of us had got in common, like a mutual friend. And I thought, I wonder if I can use that to my advantage. So I asked around and I said, yeah, he loves her. He thinks she's fantastic. And, and if you talk about her, you'll open conversation up and blah, blah, blah. So I remember taking this shot and I was at a Starbucks style cafeteria. And I said, I know you. I said, don't you know Margaret? I'm going to use the name Margaret. I said, don't you know Margaret? I said, she's great, isn't she? And he looked at me and went, no, she's a bitch. And just turned around and like, oh, okay. Well, that screwed up my entire plan. I'd planned out the entire conversation on where I was going to, and that just threw me. Luckily, I managed to rescue it, and it did end up working. But that is a perfect example of how, if I hadn't have had the training I'd have had, that could have gone so far differently the other way.
Pete had a great concept he brought up on how to throw them off and make the training realistic, which I just thought was both beneficial and absolutely hilarious, because we all find humor in things that we've experienced in this job and in this career field. But what if you go thinking you're having a meeting with a power broker leader and in walks a supermodel, and you're not prepared to be confronted with one of the most beautiful women you've ever seen in your life, who just happens to also be that power broker, and it throws you off your game. And are you prepared to shift gears and be able to push down any distractions that you may have to still be successful in conducting that meet or that interview? And that's going to happen to us in life, and if you're not ready for it, and if you've not experienced it in training, you may not do as well. The more you bleed in training, the less you bleed in combat.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note here, and this is not controversial, it's just people, when I say this, people that know, they'll get it. This SpyQ isn't going to be for everyone, because some people aren't willing to do the hard yards. You have to put the reps in, and you have to, like, I remember when I was learning profiling, and this is a long time ago, and I was told to go to a bar or a cafe and sit there for a long time until I could intimately profile everyone in there. So I said, okay, I'll do that. And I'm sitting there, and don't get me wrong, I did well, I learned a lot. But I said to the person that was training me, I said, that was really, really tough. And they're like, yeah, you can't do that. It's not, it's not, that was, but how did it feel? I was like, yeah. And I failed, and you got to go back and back, and you got to keep doing it. And there's training regimes. And what we have to watch out for is the Dunning-Kruger effect. People that are going to come in, they're going to learn a little bit, and they're going to think, oh, I've got it. It's the most dangerous space to be in. This is a journey, and that's why it's a community, because we go on it together, and we will be there with everyone that wants to do this every step of the way, because we love this and we're interested in it, and it's a lifelong passion. And what the number one thing of any successful person is, not, well, maybe it's not the number one thing, but it's certainly a key component. Are they coachable? Are they a lifelong learner? That's really, really important, because that, as Gav, you and I have spoken about this, I don't fail, I just learn. And it's a basic concept, but we want to get brilliant at the basics. And actually, if we can do that, we become highly, highly effective.
Yeah.
Rant over.
Anything on that, Bill?
Oh yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It's interesting. I'm curious. You said a comment earlier. One of you did. I don't remember which, but about sort of the coaching part. So I'm curious in terms of your business, where it's at. If I understand from Pete, you've had your successful run and kind of kickoff here. How much of what you're doing is continued coaching with individual people in this way, and how much of it is sort of these bigger the event scenarios, like you've had it with the website here that I see?
Well, it's a good question, because it actually started out as coaching. We moved it to events, and coaching then is a key part of it, because again, for those people that are genuinely invested in it, they understand that the event unlocks something in them.
Yeah.
And they gain interest, and they're like, those that are serious about it, and they genuinely want meaningful change in their life, or they want to delve deeper into something, or they really want to get an outcome. When in the show before this, I spoke about situational coaching versus more longer form coaching. So some people genuinely come to us, like we're fortunate to work with different types of people, and there are some people that they can do some stuff themselves. These are wealthy people. They can do stuff themselves, or if they can't do it, they're going to outsource it, and they'll come to us, and it will be a situation. I mentioned the bit around the plane. That's a real scenario. Someone was going to do something. The parameters did change before they got on the plane. They're in the air. We know about it. They told us. They briefed us. We did what we needed to do. We handed them the information, briefed them when they got off the plane. They go and deliver it, and they had half an hour to change an outcome of a situation that was a lot of money at stake and a high stake situation. They get the outcome, brilliant. And they'll come back to us for situational things. Then there's other people that have been to the most recent event, and they're coming to us saying, we spoke about the concept of limiting beliefs. So they really want to uncover what's holding them back, and they understand when they that really hit them. So they want a longer form coaching over 6 months because they want to really eradicate what's holding them back and then go after and and break through to the next level. And by the way, that person is successful in their own right. They just know that they've hit a ceiling and they want to smash through that. And so we can help them do that. It's I really like your question, Bill. Gav, would you add anything onto that?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Gavin. You talk.
Oh, right. I was just going to say that whole thing about limiting beliefs. It's surprising how many people, when we did that section, came up to me afterwards and turned around and said, I didn't even realize that I am holding myself back just through what the questions that were asked, that we told them to ask themselves certain questions. And they said it wasn't until I started doing that I realized exactly how much I was holding myself back and how much more I'm capable of. We are all capable of way more than what we think we are. And we, most of our job is to bring that out in you. And like we say, in a 2 to 3 day event, we cannot give you a 12-month or 6-month training package. We can give you information. And then after the event, that's when we can guide you on how to kind of, make the most of it and check in that you're using it to its full advantage. But, I did a thing tonight. I put a post on the community about burnout. And I spoke about, is burnout really a thing? Because you can come home at 5, 6 o'clock, be exhausted, lie on the couch and think, you know what, I'm done for today. I don't want to do anything. Then you can have one phone call or a knock on the door and somebody gives you some really exciting news. And all of a sudden you are buzzing, you're jumping up and down and you're celebrating. And it's like that whole day never happened. So is burnout actually physical or is it mental? And we go into kind of, what you can achieve. And it's not the body, it's not the mind, it's the mindset. It's all about whether you tell yourself today's been a long day, or I now need to take a break, or, you know what, I've got enough left to keep me going and sleep well tonight. You can change your own mindset. And that's just from a day-to-day thing. So imagine what we can do if we remove all the limiting beliefs that you've been brought up believing. You grow up from childhood accepting a lot of things that you're told. You're told by parents and society how to live and how to think and what to do and how to act, and you fall in line because that's what you see everybody else doing. We're here to totally eradicate those lines and say, right, now go and be free, do what you want to do and achieve what anybody else can achieve. Because like I said at the event, do you think somebody who earns 1 million times more than you is 1 million times smarter than you? No. They're just somebody who knows different ways of doing things. Information is power.
I wanted to take that concept you just talked about, but also the idea of when you sit with Gavin, when you sit with Bill, when you sit with Pete, when you sit with Ken, when you sit with James, you're going to see how we use our bag of tools. We all have an all, but only one of us probably uses it. And one of us is going to say, this is when you slow down. Like think about like when you paint with your loved one, like you're going to paint a room. Now, I'm not good at taping. I have no patience for it. And so I'll just start on the middle of the field and I'll just start rolling and painting. But if you have that loved one who's like, no, we have to slow down and tape every possible thing. Okay, great. While you do that, you're good at that. I'm going to do this. So like, you have to know what the tools are that you have. When you have access to these tools, you realize, oh man, I can tape if I just learn that discipline of sitting there and taping and making it into a Zen thing, whatever it is, right? So you have access to all these tools when you have all these different approaches. And the other thing, and this is, I think, I predict this will be a powerful thing. You might come to SpyQ and get run through the ringer, and Ken and I are swapping out supermodels for actual, things. And you're going to go to get your hair cut at a barbershop, and it's going to be something totally different. And you may realize, I hate the field. I don't want to be in those meetings, but I run people that are going to those meetings. And I better understand now what they need to do that job. And in this case, I'm thinking like a sales kind of case. But whatever that thing is, you may realize that, because this is true in intelligence, there are people that are great planners, and you have to have these great planners that think of the things that I can't. I can plan, but I'm not a great planner. I can analyze, but I'm not a great analyst. You want me in the field drinking shots and making friends and creating influence, right? And so you might find out that where you're at is, okay, now I better understand what it means to go to the field and have something happen and have some different opportunity comes. We talk about in Intel, spot, assess, recruit, right? And that sounds simple. It's just 3 things: spot, assess, recruit. Actually, you're on the spot the entire time. And as you're trying to spot and as you're trying to assess, and you're sitting in that cafe, you're like, I'm going to sit here in this cafe for 8 hours, or I might just go strike up a conversation with this person and then that person. And instead of just thinking I know who they are, just go and find out who they are. Ask them, hey, who are you? What do you do? And all of a sudden you've built this bond. There's a lot of ways to do this job. And I'm hoping that by immersing people into the job in a fun place, in a fun way that's safe, that people will say, oh, it'll expand their minds on what's possible. And then, continue to like, how do I, because you don't learn this in one trip. You don't learn this in 1 hour. You have to learn it really over. I mean, I know all of us are still learning. So who wants to go next? Who wants to say something with that?
I just add a couple things, going back to what James and Gavin and you have all said recently, is I think there's a misconception out there by some people that these tactics, these techniques are individual sports. They're not an individual sport. This is a team sport. There is not that, with the exception of maybe Pete, the guy who goes out there on his own and is the lone wolf, accomplishing this all. When we've been successful during this, we've had a safety net around us in case we stumble. We've had people to bounce ideas off. We might come up with an op plan and pitch it, and somebody looks at us and says, that's a terrible idea, and this is why. So you reconsider it and find something that works best. So maybe for a lot of people out there that have become successful by their own drive, by their own initiative, by going out and doing things on their own, they're still not reaching their full potential because they don't realize, by developing these skills in a safe environment with a safety net and with people to go to for coaching, whether it be in the immediate term or the long term, they're going to be even more successful because they're so used to doing it on their own. And they don't realize that they're missing a big portion of that. So in listening to the 3 of you speak in the last few minutes, that's sort of something I came up with, that there's a misperception out there that these skills are individual skills that one exercises on their own, whereas we all know that really it's a team sport, and having that backup and having people with similar knowledge and training is just going to make us more successful at what we do.
I've actually operated on both sides of the fence with I've actually operated as a knock, which for anybody watching doesn't know, that's a non-official cover. So you don't have diplomatic immunity. You are thrown into a country to go and operate pretty much on your own initiative. But that was primarily when I was a contractor. I've also worked in teams as well. So to back up what you said there, Ken, about the whole teams, I heard a brilliant saying not so long back, and it said, show me your network and I'll show you your net worth. And this is something that, if you think about, your network literally equals your net worth. You need to constantly expand that. The more you do expand that, the better the team and people you've got around you, the better the peers, the better mentors and everything else, then the better your chances are of success in everything you do in life. So you're absolutely right with that, Ken. Build that network and strengthen it and keep it alive. And we'll teach techniques with that as well on how to. I mean, I've got probably, I don't even know how many contacts on my phone. And yet I know for a fact I can reach out to the majority of them pretty much any time and say, hey, I'm coming, and they're going to go, we'll cook you a meal. The door's open, let yourself in. And that could be people I haven't seen for years and years in different countries. If I announce them on the way, they're like, yep, kettle's on, buddy. We're going to make you a cup of tea or a coffee and see you when you get here.
Yeah. And just remembering the skills that we're teaching, yes, like it's community rooted, but what we're teaching will, over time, it's something that you will, and I'm talking now to the audience, it's something that you will do and you will practice and practice until it's something that you are. and it will be in your mind, pushed into the subconscious, and suddenly it's just a part of who you are. And that becomes tremendously powerful. And there are situations like, what I'm going to say, I don't want to, there's sliding scales on this stuff, right? So there might be a use case where you like younger people they might grow up with social anxiety. I don't mind sharing. I grew up with social anxiety, worked very, very hard to get to, with the levels that I'm at. And going into a bar and networking and socializing and becoming friends with everyone, that could be really big for some people. So that's one end of the scale. We can teach you to do that. The other end of the scale, there's a story, because someone mentioned a surgeon earlier on in this call. And there's a story, if people look it up, they can probably find it, and it's in the UK. And it's someone that, it happened to someone I know, and a family member of who I know. And this person was a very famous plastic surgeon. And why I'm saying this is because if they knew what we know, this would never have happened. And this is and retrospectively, they're still here and they know. And now, guess what? They work with us, so they know. This person was working in one of the top hospitals, private hospitals in the UK. And they were working with, and this is public story, so I'm not breaching anything here. They were working with another plastic surgeon. And over time, there was a little bit of something happening between these two plastic surgeons. And I'm just going to call them A and B. So A goes home, plastic surgeon A goes home and gets into bed with young family. And what happens is someone breaks into their house, stabs them, and then sets the house on fire and leaves. Now, what happens is everyone is safe. So suspense, everyone is safe and secure. They found out that it was plastic surgeon B that did that through jealousy, professional jealousy. But when time healed and time passed, we spoke about recollection, and there were so many things that A could have spotted on B as pre-violence indicators and showings of contempt in the face and everything in between that could have predicted some, maybe not all of that, but could have taken steps, because there was stuff that happened before that. So there's sliding scales to this stuff. There's the social side of it that's fun, and then there's the quite serious side, and that's all around situational awareness, which we teach. And I think it's just worth saying that, because there's so many different use cases for this, and we talk about the concept of just being ready, and that's it, and just being dynamic. And like that, A recognizes that they could have prevented this had they just been more situationally aware. And I just think that's worth saying that, because it's sometimes this stuff can be life-saving, as well as thrilling life in a social setting.
And can you imagine how much worse that would have been if it had been a nasty scar and there wouldn't have been a plastic surgeon on hand to sort it out? Yeah. Well, give him the opportunity to finish the job before he goes to prison. So yeah, I mean, to lighten things up there a little bit, because yeah, I mean that obviously is a public story now, so I hope people do look it up and read the full story behind that. Yeah, this is something that we go into deep into, being able to kind of just read people and understand more about themselves, about others. But we start on the basis of understanding yourself. And that's something that we cover a lot of. It's interesting in the event. There's two kind of things that happened. The women wanted to tend to know more about the profiling and how to understand other people, mainly men, and the men wanted to know more about the influencing side of things, which started off with work-related influencing and ended up with kind of how do I get a woman into a bar, or take her home at the end of the night and that kind of thing. And of course, what you've got with all of that when it comes down to profiling is understanding others is all well and good, but you can't do any of that until you really truly deeply understand yourself. And that's where we get into a little bit of introspection, because when you understand yourself and how you think about things, how you see things, it gives you a massive and better understanding of how others are going to see you and how others are going to see the world. So this sounds very, very complicated, but way more than what it really should do. And it all makes a lot more sense when you get into the lessons of this.
Yeah.
I got a quick question, if you don't mind.
Bill,
I
jump
apologize
in.
because I gotta bounce here in a few minutes, but I wanted to ask this. There's sort of two parts to this. It's really kind of the same question, but it's two sides of the same coin. So when Pete invited me on, he was telling me a little bit about what you guys were doing and starting to do, and I had a sort of wanted to hear about it and brainstorm a little bit. So just kind of as you're growing these are sort of business question, but also like where you guys are wanting to go and what you're doing. And maybe it's kind of evolving, so it's not fixed. But here's the question. So on one part of it is sort of, if you want to use marketing terms, you could call it market segmentation. You want to call it the Intel terms, you can call it your target profiles. Like who are you guys kind of, is there any particular demographic, market segment, any particular profile of people that you're kind of is going to be 80% of the people that you serve, whether that's age or male, female, or professional or not, or you name it. Kind of what's your segments and profiles there, and then two, kind of that flip side of that, we talked about. Somebody mentioned it before, but is what you're covering, most of the things with regard to the skills and so forth, are most of these things kind of the source ops skills in that regard, or is it move also into sort of targeter kind of higher level planning, so to speak, about who we're going to go after and why, or what groups of people or categories, or even higher into sort of intel strategy and how do we want to develop information networks and sources at a macro scale for a company, for example, which is also connected then, in terms of, is it, data and information collection versus the intel generation versus, situational awareness to decision making and sort of that expanded intel cycle. The reason why I ask is, and maybe this isn't the forum for it, but it's just to kind of get an idea about what you're thinking the business is looking like and where you're trying to take it and how broad is it going to be and who's it targeted towards, mostly.
Yeah, so, well, to answer your first question, this is literally for anybody who wants to improve their life. If they're feeling stuck, if they're feeling lonely, if they feel like they've plateaued, if they're feeling lost, whatever the case may be, it's kind of self-development on steroids. Because at the end of the day, like what James said not so long back, we've all, in this day and age, we've never been so freely connected and freely available to speak to pretty much anybody and everybody in the world, information in abundance, people all around us, and yet we're in a pandemic of loneliness. So we've got all this going on out there, and never in history before has there been so many levels of suicide, of depression, of lostness, of financial burden that people are now looking. A lot of people ask them what they want. They say, "I want financial freedom." If you want to achieve these things, it's actually easily done. It really is easily done. It's just about knowing the right steps and how to do it. So anybody out there at all, whether it's financial freedom you want, whether it's to improve where you're at with, maybe you are a business owner, you own 2-3 businesses and you've plateaued and you want to expand. Maybe you're climbing the corporate ladder and you've stopped and you want to get right to the top, or you're looking at completely severing ties from that world and want to come out of that world and into your own business, setting up your own business, whatever the case may be. Or even just minor developments of, I'm just not happy. I want to know what I can do to achieve a level of happiness that is going to give me a better quality of life. These are things that with some of the basic levels of training that we've got, we open the doors to people to be able to see opportunities that they didn't even know were there. So with regards to target audience, it literally is anybody who's open-minded enough to say, I just want my life to be better. And we can do that. We can bring you on board and we can show you exactly how to do it. And so that's kind of a very broad answer to that question. So I apologize, but I don't want to limit this by turning around and saying, oh, it's only for this particular type of person. Then all of a sudden, a load of people go, oh, what a shame. I'd love to have done that, and think that they can't. That's not the case. You know, if you want a better life, if you want to be able to achieve things that other people can't, then we're going to show you how, because quite simply, if you do what everybody else does, you'll get what everybody else has got. If you want something different, come along to SpyQ. We'll make that happen. And then your next question with regards to training, there are levels of training throughout this, where we start by sorting out your own view of the world on how you see things, whether it's internal or external, and what we can do to make sure you're looking at the world correctly and not through a polarized lens. And that will broaden your horizons straight away to be able to see so much more that's available to you out there. So we go through a system which hopefully James won't not mind me revealing, called SUIT, which is see, understand, influence, and thrive. And these are the sections. Some of you guys might know this from what's taught at the farm, and some of the kind of intelligence officer training. It's kind of adapted for civilian use, and the concept is to be able to use what we're trained to do in order to get what we want. So when you were talking about asset recruitment and sources and that kind of thing, yes, that's great, but there is much more to it as well. So, for example, I use this with somebody, and I have actually said the story before, but I'll tell it again. There's a guy I know. He came to me, and he said he wasn't particularly happy, but he didn't necessarily know why. I said, okay, do you like your job? And he said, yeah, I love my job. I said, okay. I said, if every job in the world, no matter what it was, I said, if every job in the world paid $1,000, would you still be doing what you're doing? And, well, no. I said, well, you don't love the job, you love the money. And I sat him down and I said, right, what do you want to do? And we struggled to figure out. And in the end, I got it down. I said, look, what did you want to do when you were a kid? And he said, you'll laugh at me. I said, no, come on, try me. And he said, I wanted to be a helicopter pilot. And I said, okay. I said, so why didn't you? And he said, well, years of studying and all these exams and all the costs, and it's very expensive to get your helicopter pilot's license, and it just didn't seem achievable. I listened to people around me, which again, we cover that, negative talk and how people suffer from what becomes external to internal negative talk and how to deal with it. And in the end, I said, right, let's make this happen. And we agreed that we were going to come up with a plan that was going to get him his helicopter license. And down the road from me, there's a company called, in fact, I won't say the name just in case, but there's a helicopter training company. And what we did, right opposite there, there's a little cafeteria, and a lot of the staff go over there for their lunch breaks and that kind of thing. And we infiltrated the staff at this particular company. We got to know them. And we basically worked doing what we were trained to do. We used a system where we just said, look, tell me the good things about the helicopter company, and they did. They said what it was, and then over time, as we got to know them more, we said, what's this company missing? What does it need? And they were like, really, the worst thing that we suffer with is some of the staff turnover, because the HR screening is not great. I was like, brilliant. That's what my mate here does. And then I'm like, you got 48 hours to learn how to be good at HR screening. I'll show you how later. And what we did is we created a job for him that didn't even exist. And I said, look, get us in with the right people. Get me in the room with the right people. And I'll tell you, and what we did is they hired him for HR screening. And I taught him some fantastic methods on how to do that, by the way, which brought him loads of brownie points with the company. He got hired by the company on a 2-year contract, which was sponsored. And part of the conditions of his sponsorship of his 2-year contract was that they paid to put him through his helicopter license.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, he's a helicopter charter pilot at Southampton Airport now. So these are the kind of things that we do to be able to get you to not just realize what your dream is, but then to go out and how to achieve it and how to get it and how to create it. So I mean, that's one example. There's so many more. We can just one of the lessons I've given many times amongst security guys, intelligence guys, military guys. I do this thing, and I think I may have spoken to you about it before, Pete. It's called the werewolf game. And yeah, brilliant little setup, and it's just the power of insider information. And you get everybody sitting in a circle, and you have 4 people, and they're the only 4 people who know that they are the designated werewolves, and the rest are villagers. And everybody closes their eyes, and when they do, the werewolves, the only 4 werewolves, open their eyes, and they pick 2 villagers to kill. And when everybody opens their eyes again, the 2 villagers are pulled out, and the rest of the villagers have to decide who they think the werewolves are. And the only people who know who the werewolves are the 4 people who are the werewolves. The rest of the villagers are just guessing and trying to figure it out. It's absolutely amazing, because every time I do this exercise, I watch a class of 30 people sitting in a circle, and the circle just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller every single time until there's only the werewolves left. That's the power of insider information, and that's what we teach you. We teach you how to get it, we teach you how to use it, we teach you how to leverage it, and we teach you exactly the right ethical ways of being able to utilize it to your advantage and the advantage of others.
That was awesome. Yeah, I want to play the werewolf game.
Yeah.
So just to backtrack all the beginning, congratulations to me and Ken and Bill. The ability to build something with you guys in North America sounds fantastic. I'm going to attempt to blow everybody's minds, and Ken and I have already kind of started working on that. Bill's going to join in at his leisure, but we want to make this fun, because being a spy is supposed to be fun, and we want to make it exciting, but we also want to make it valuable, and we want to make it so that it gives you something that you're desperate to come back for. So just more to come on this. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I want to put you in cool situations. More importantly, I want you to talk your way into cool situations as part of the exercise, so that you're like, you will never believe where I was when I was in place X. And so that you want to come for the next one, because that's the thing, is this is a lifelong pursuit. And I dig that. Fellas, I got to wrap this up so I can get with Cody, who's going to come on next. He's going to be in Vegas next week at the radio. So I'm going to give everybody one chance real quick to say something in passing. Don't be rushed, but be quick. Bill, anything in closing?
I'm just excited to hear what you're doing. This is pretty interesting, and look forward to talking more. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. That's good. Gavin.
Oh, okay, then really quickly, you do not know exactly what you're capable of until you find yourself doing it, and then afterwards you amaze yourself with that. So I'll pass it on to Ken. Ken?
Hey, I'm looking forward to this opportunity to build on what James and Gavin have started and bring it to this audience here. And I think adding on again to what Pete said, make it something that not only they enjoy, but they want to come back for. More importantly, that they want to bring their friends back with them and share that experience that they've had with other people, so that we keep expanding this network.
Yeah, and I think if this,
there we go.
if this, for anyone listening, if this resonated even 10%, you are our kind of, you are our type of person. Get in touch, look for updates, because 2026 is going to be huge for SpyQ, and we are genuinely building a community, and we want you to be part of it.
Follow us on all the social media sites.
That's right. That's right. Follow on social media, and we'll get all that stuff out to you. Again, we're growing and we're learning as we grow. So I will see you all later. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And in about 5 minutes, we're going to have Cody Wood back on here. And Cody is awesome. You're going to love him. He's going to talk about rodeo and all kinds of things, because that's what we do around here. We go from spies to rodeos like it's nothing. So thank you all. See you all in a few minutes, fellas. Thank you all, my panel of here. Thank you all for being on the show. Bye-bye, everybody.